Hi, welcome to this part of my guide and review featuring the Mythic Game Master Emulator, 2nd edition. If you haven't seen the other parts of my guide and review, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about scene structure. Time in Mythic adventures is conceptualized as cinematic scenes, in which the action of your adventure occurs. Scenes usually take place at certain locations, involve certain characters, and revolve around certain actions or events. When these actions or events are resolved, the scene is over. A scene could be your warrior player character exploring a dungeon chamber, or your smuggler player character meeting with a potential new client, or perhaps your cryptozoologist player character searching for a mysterious creature in the forest. The amount of narrative time a scene encompasses is up to you. It could be the 15 minutes it takes to explore a room, or the year it takes your player character to hone their swordsmanship skills. No matter what time frame you are dealing with, the scene is about something specific. There are 4 types of scenes. The first scene, expected scenes, altered scenes, and interrupt scenes. Let's talk about the first scene. This is a special scene because it gets the story rolling. There are a few different ways you can come up with a first scene, depending on how much context you are starting with and how surprised you want to be. This has to do with an inspired idea. Mythic adventures are full of surprises, but you can always start with a fully formed idea of your own. You can think of this as what-if ideas, such as, what if my cybernetic superhero gets a lead on the shadowy organization that created him? Starting with an idea that excites you makes for a solid beginning that will lead to a solid adventure. Then we have random events, of course. If you want to start surprised or don't have anything in mind, you can generate a random event to use as inspiration for your first scene. Since this is the beginning of your adventure, there's a good chance that your threats and characters lists will be empty. Ignore any result from the event focus table that calls for an element from an empty list and use current context as the focus instead, just like you would during a regular random event. You may not have a lot of context to draw from yet, especially if you're starting from scratch, but you aren't completely empty-handed. You have a player character, a setting, and an idea of what you'd like to see in this adventure, especially if you are using a chosen role-playing game that's built around a specific world or genre. This is more than enough to form an interpretation for the first scene. Mythic will hone your adventure with more specific goals and ideas as you play, but at this stage, the possibilities are wide open, and all you need are the context and the meaning tables to get things off to a good start. Let's talk about meaning tables. You can skip the event focus altogether and go straight to the meaning tables for inspiration, rolling up as many word pairs as you need to string together an opening narrative. Now let's talk about the 4W. A more structured way to use meaning tables for the first scene is to apply a 4W approach: who, what, where, and why. You can roll for this in whatever order you find the most logical. You can even add how or when, if a randomized method or time period would add something meaningful to your adventure. Concerning who, to find out who is primarily involved in the scene, roll on the character's elements meaning table and go with whatever interpretation makes sense, whether that's your own player character, an existing non-player character, or a new non-player character inspired by the word pair. Concerning what, roll on the actions meaning tables to see what the main activity of the scene will be. Concerning where, for the location where the main activity is taking place, roll on the location's elements meaning table. Just like with who, this can be any new or existing location that fits the word pair. Then, when it comes to why, roll on the actions meaning tables to learn the motivations behind why the characters are taking these actions. Once you have your 4 Ws, combine them into the most interesting interpretation you can think of. And this concludes this part of the guide and review. In the next part, we are going to talk about expected and altered scenes. It's important to know that there is no set order when it comes to handling scene structure. All of these things that I talked about, they can be used however you like. Perhaps you only need a few of them. Perhaps you want to focus on the 4 W's. You start asking who, what, where, why, and such. Or maybe you want to focus on an inspired idea, supported by random events, or by meaning tables. It's all up to you. Thank you for watching this part of the guide and review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.